Talking about the important topic of customer reviews. Last month, my wife asked me to drive her or pick her up at a car repair place, and I walked in and I saw this wall. So I had to pull my phone out, take the picture. Obviously, it's not very professional, but I was so impressed that this company really is embracing customer reviews, so much so that their biggest wall in their entire shop is all about their customer reviews. So I zoom in on a couple of them, and you could see how much pride they take in customer reviews. And I want to support you in really embracing the concept of customer reviews and helping your company embrace a culture of company reviews. Some of the topics we're going to be covering today are why they're so important, how to create that company culture, how to incentivize your employees, and then the importance of responding to all reviews, cover some tools, and just a whole lot more. I will say that in the last 12 to 18 months, I've seen a shift in that more and more companies have really embraced customer reviews and the bar has been raised and that we need to improve our tactics and our strategies on how to get more of them. So we're going to hit on some of those topics today. Because it's such an important topic, I know we are always multitasking, but if you could zero in and listen as best you can for the next 30 minutes, I think you're going to get a whole lot out of it. And it could have a great impact on your company. Quick background about me. I am the owner of Rainmaker for Contractors. We specialize in helping basic waterproofing companies and foundation repair companies grow and sell more and get more leads and make a bigger profit. I have written the only book on digital marketing for basement waterproofing and foundation repair. I hope you've heard the podcast. If not, there's some great content on there. I'm a coach and I coach about 30 digital marketing agencies. I am been on the board of directors for BHA for, I don't know, 14 years and won some awards from Google, been to their headquarters 3 different times. So anyway, yeah, if you stay to the end, or I'm going to offer something, don't be hesitant to reach out to me because we're here to help. And whether you're a client of ours or not, if you're not a client of ours, I'm still happy to meet with you and strategize with you. If there's some questions that weren't answered or any other way, please reach out. All right. Do online reviews matter? I think we're past this point. I think at this stage, everyone knows they matter, but I want to really drive home why they're so important in today's age. The truth of the matter is, no one's going to drop $10,000 on a company, on some home improvement service without looking at your reviews. Like, I can't name one person that I know that would just write a check because they met with some sales rep that sounded good without looking at their reviews. So I hope you know that you really need to dial in and ask yourself, hey, do I have the best reviews in the town? And if not, how do we get them? So a couple quick stats. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but 86% of the people read at least one review before purchasing a home improvement service. And then 77% of consumers think that reviews more than 3 months are not relevant. I did have a customer, on occasion, a customer will say like, hey, like we're not getting leads, like what's going on? I did look at their reviews and they hadn't had a review in over 2 months. And, I'm going to share some other examples of real life situations where not having current reviews or enough reviews or a poor rating really impacts your lead flow. It's just so critical. So reviews can really make or break your company. Now, I put this topic in. Do your Google reviews reflect the quality of your work? And here's why. Because I talk with and meet with a fair amount of basement waterproofing companies they're not huge, but they're great guys. They own the company. They're super knowledgeable. They've been in the business for, 1, 2, sometimes 3 decades. And they really, really care about their customers. Like they treat every customer as if it's their sister. And they do a phenomenal work. I just know this to be true. But then you look at their online reviews and there's either not very many, or you look at their rating and you're like, like you wouldn't know. But I get the privilege to talk with these people and meet with them. And who they are and who their company is not a reflection of their reviews. And I think it's so important that you get rid of that gap. And there are so many great quality waterproofing companies out there that really need to figure out how to allow their work and their reputation to shine online. So let's figure that out today. And I sincerely hope that you take action. It's one thing to watch a training, it's an entirely different thing to actually implement this. When you don't have good reviews, and I'm going to share a real life example, it really can hurt your whole overall marketing efforts because no matter where you're attracting these customers, whether it's a referral or you're doing radio or TV or local service ads or Angie or Nextdoor, whatever it is, you're gonna have your reviews read. And if those reviews are bad, it's just gonna hurt your overall effort. And you're gonna miss valuable opportunities to convert visitors into leads. And you're gonna lose those customers to your competition. That's just how the game works. I did have a client of ours, they had the lowest rating out of all of our clients in basement waterproofing throughout the country. I think it was a 3.9. And I had one of those meetings of like, hey, our leads are low. Like, is there anything you could do? And man, and I had been preaching customer reviews with this person for probably 3 or 4 years. And we were firing on all cylinders, but it doesn't matter how great you are with your marketing efforts. If you have a really low, uh, like a 3.9, boy, that's rough. Like, would you work with a company that had a 3.9 and you're dropping, ten to $20,000 into the company? Sometimes and occasionally, of course, it's not like their business shut down, but it certainly impacted their company. I do like in those scenarios, I do like asking the owner. I say, if you didn't know anything about waterproofing and here's 5 options, like who would you not pick? And it's me. And they get all frustrated, but sometimes it's helpful to see that whole situation from the customer's standpoint. So you do have a great opportunity to really shine. And anyone watching this training that's a basement waterproofing owner knows what's happening in our market. We have the private equity companies buying waterproofing companies, and they are getting massive amounts of reviews. They're trained well, they're aggressive. Now we know the quality of work doesn't always match the number of reviews or the rating. So the bar has been raised, and we really, really need to up our game to get a lot of reviews and to get quality reviews. And it involves the whole system. It's just not asking more. There's more to do, and we're going to cover some of those items. So we really want to reach a point where the work that we're doing and the service that we're providing is just exceptional, and our reputation speaks for itself and it gets reflected online. That's where we're headed. Interesting stat, really interesting stat. I find this fascinating. Conversion of a Google listing improves by 44% when a business increases its average rating by 1 full star. So if you're like a 3.0, which would be absolute nightmare, but you moved it to 4.0, when someone goes to your Google listing, they would convert into a lead 44% more. That's how much it would improve. Like, that is significant. And then even if you just improve it a tenth, like I've been working with companies and they're like, finally, after several years, for whatever, it registered on their radar screen and they're like, we really have to get serious. And they're at like a 4.5 and they want to make a 4.6 by the end of a quarter. And it's all cylinders are fired, and they've talked to all the employees and they track that every week, every month, and they're really trying to move that up. That's significant because even if you could increase it a tenth, it's going to be a 4.4% increase in your conversions from a Google listing. So take this seriously and work hard at it. How do reviews relate to ranking? I would tell you from an owner of a digital marketing company that there's one area that we can't do much about when it comes to your online presence, and that is your customer reviews. Now, we could provide a service for you. We could poke at you, we could remind you, we could educate you, but we're not standing in front of the customer asking for a review. And of course, we're not doing the work. And that is about 16% of your rank in local SEO relates to your Google review. Quick side note is Google does own patents that can read the reviews. So they don't just go off the number of reviews or the rating, but they're actually reading the sentiment of the review. So if you can really get customers to rave about you, or if you can get them to use the phrase basement waterproofing, and especially the city that you did the work in, those things really help your ranking. Now, the other thing that it obviously does is it causes more conversions. I have a couple slides here out of these three companies. Now, I know a lot of people get three estimates, but out of these three, if I were a customer and didn't know much about waterproofing, I certainly would call this first one for two reasons. One is they happen to have the highest rating. Now, 4.4 isn't great. I really feel like most everyone has improved their ratings higher than that, but it's tied for first. So in this scenario, in this town, I would call this company for that reason. But the other thing is we people are like sheep. We're like sheep and we feel safer in numbers. So the more reviews that we see, the more comfortable that we typically feel. So all the more reason why you want to get a lot of reviews. Same scenario here. We have, now this isn't the highest rating, but they have way more than anybody else. Like, what is that? 15 times more than anyone else out of these three. So if I'm going to get three estimates, I'm going to call these folks. So yes, Google reviews are mission critical. And I want to talk about 5 key principles that relate to this. If you can embrace these 5, I think you're really going to be on the right path. So one is provide a world-class customer experience. And I talk to a fair amount of smaller waterproofing companies. On a rare occasion, there's the owner that runs their leads, or they have a sales rep or one or two, and sometimes they run their leads and they maybe have one or two people in the office and they subcontract their work. But even a little bit bigger companies than that are running, 2 or 3 crews. I guess what I'm saying is that too many owners I come across are checking up on the job. They want to make sure the quality's there. And I totally commend the efforts to really nail down the quality and to be great at customer service. If you're wanting to scale your company and if you're wanting to have more peace of mind that your company has systems in place that are going to provide outstanding customer service to your customers and the quality of work is going to be there and things are going to be done right, you know that you need to have systems in place. You need to have good employees, but you need systems and you need checklists and you need quality control and kind of a second set of eyes. And that's largely why a lot of owners go to job sites. I'm not saying never go to a job site, but just because you sold it, I would not position yourself to have to go out there all the time and babysit the job. There's so many things as an owner. I don't need to tell you that. You live it every day. You're wearing your hat, you're wearing like 20 hats a day, right? There's just so much going on. So I want to recommend a book, and it's called The Checklist Manifesto. Very briefly, it's a true story on how this one gentleman literally changed and revolutionized the Western medicine system. And what he did was initially he tried to get doctors to follow checklists because he knew if doctors could follow checklists that he could help save lives and he could also reduce the number of surgeries that were not performed correctly and that caused second surgeries. I think we'd all agree that if a checklist was followed in every single procedure, that lives would be saved and surgeries would be performed better. So what do you think happened when this gentleman approached doctors? Doctors would say, ha, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't need a checklist. I could do this in my sleep. And okay, but truth of the matter is, would you want a surgeon performing an operation on you if they found out that morning that whatever, fill in the blank, their wife is divorcing them, their wife has cancer, or one of their kids got into a car accident, or you name it. We're people and we're affected by internal and external factors. So having a checklist and then having everyone on the team follow a checklist, you're going to have better quality work. So what this author in person did is he went to the insurance companies and they set up a case study, and they convinced an insurance company to require one hospital. It started with one hospital, and all the doctors and nurses had to follow a checklist. And there was a double tracking system, and they significantly reduced the number of deaths and the number of surgeries that needed a second surgery because it wasn't performed right. So it's a fascinating story, and it really empowers the idea of checklist. And it's a great tool to kind of get in our heads and get in our minds to say, like, how can we better scale our company, and how can you as an owner not have to babysit everything, because we have enough things going on. Now, if you haven't embraced AI, I would encourage you to do. ChatGPT is the most popular AI tool, although there's probably thousands of them out now easily. But quick story, I was having breakfast with my brother-in-law a couple Sundays ago, and I was showing him that I have this tool on my phone, and I could just hit the button and I talk to it, and it listens to what I say, it converts it into print, I hit send, and it immediately spits out an answer. So I showed him a thing or two that I do on my way to work sometimes. And so he grabs my phone, and he's a surgeon, he's a facial plastic surgeon, and he just to test it out, he says, what are post-op procedures for some, like, medical surgery thing? And it just spits out a bunch of stuff. And ChatGPT can be wordy. So I looked at it, and it was kind of a long checklist. So then I grabbed my phone, and you could have a conversation with the one conversation that you open. And I said, make this into a bullet point checklist, and hit it. And then immediately just bullet point checklist. And then I said, put a box on the left side of each bullet point. Immediately it comes back, and like right away. And we were both just so impressed. Now you could do the same thing with your whatever service that you're providing. It's basement waterproofing with a jackhammer or whatever, or crawl spaces or egress windows, or whatever your service is. You can create your own checklist, and then once you have that, you can improve upon it. So I would encourage you to lean into checklists to be able to create world-class customer service, so that your quality is totally consistent and you're doing a phenomenal job for every single customer. All right, second of the 5 principles. Love this line. It's just so true. What you measure, what you inspect, and what you celebrate, you create more of. If you're not measuring it, you really can't improve it. To say, like, we want more of those, okay, well, what does that mean? Like, we really have to say, where are we now, and where do we want to get to by when, and who's taking responsibility for that? So you have to measure things, and you have to inspect things, which relates to accountability. And then something that most business owners that I know are horrible at, I've learned to get better at it. I'm not great at it. And that is to celebrate the wins. And we need to do that. Um, I probably am like a lot of you, and then I hit a goal and I'm going, cool, like, what's the next goal? But it's important to take time to celebrate that goal. All right, so here's some things that you can measure. And I'm adding something new here, and that is to ask, like, when you ask for a review. So how many times do you ask a homeowner for a review? I'm going to suggest 3 on every single job. And a lot of people just say, well, I think the majority of companies that I work with, they know it's important, and then they'll tell the crew to ask for a review at the end of the job. And it's just so much more than that. And I'm actually going to say a little bit more than this slide, but the first time I'm going to suggest that you ask for a review during the job. And you might ask why during the job. I'll cover that in a second. But I think it's important that you ask during the job. Now, they could always change it or update it if for some reason the job goes south. The second obvious time is after the job. I think most companies do this. We're past the days of at the end of the month, you send an email to all the customers you did work on and hold your breath, cross your fingers, and hope someone posts a review. Like we're way past that. You can't do that anymore. And I think everyone knows now that when you ask in person, that's going to be your best shot of getting a review. So you need to ask at the end of the job. Now, if you still don't have a review, I would implement, if you're not already doing it, just that quality control call. Now, some companies actually, it's all set up. Like it's set up in the sale and it's set up when the crew is doing the work, that in 2 weeks, someone's going to come out and they're going to inspect the job on the inside and the outside, and they're going to just make sure that everything was performed according to your satisfaction, the customer. Most companies that I work with don't do that, but some do that. And that you're talking about quality control and really being on your game. They see that it's just too important. So that's what they do. Now, if you're not doing post-inspection visits, at least make the phone call. Do it a week later or 2 weeks later and just say, hey, it's really important that we review everything that we did and talk about just everything involved in the job. How was your experience? Was it easy to set the appointment? Was it easy to work with us? Did we communicate well? Were the crews on time? Did they, if you weren't there, did they leave pictures? Just all the little things. Just go over, create a set of questions. And then that's a great time to get a review if they haven't left one already. So it's something you can measure. You could ask, how do we set up a system so that we're asking for a review 3 times on every single job? Okay, so why ask in the middle of the job? It's going to get a higher response rate. It will catch the customer earlier in their journey. Now, this is important because when someone's checking out your reviews, they're in the beginning stages of the journey. So the more that you can have your customers talk about their initial stages of the journey, like we got 4 estimates. We liked ABC waterproofing because they, fill in the blank. They weren't pushy. They had the best systems, whatever it was. They were most knowledgeable. We liked their system the best. The more you can have your reviews talk about those things earlier on in the journey, the more effective your reviews are going to be for your future customers, because those are the reviews that we're trying to speak to the future customers. Third, it's going to build trust because it's just going to fit with everything that we're saying, that we really value your feedback and we want to do a great job for you and we want to hear from you. And then it encourages thoughtful responses, because if you catch them in the middle of the job and they're like, oh, I'm kind of busy, I was just going to run to the store. Now they're thinking about it. They're like, okay, these people are really on me. They want me to post a review. What am I going to say? So now they're thinking about it. So you're going to typically get a better response there. So if you're not asking for a review in the middle of a job, I would encourage it and start to create new habits and routines. All right. Third principle out of 5. I love this one. I'm just a huge fan of culture because culture doesn't change easily. And when you have the right culture, it's just a beautiful thing. So build a company culture of reviews. Now, this slide that I showed you earlier, obviously this company embraces it and it's a culture of reviews. They just get it. But I want to talk about different ways to motivate your employees. I have had some pushback here, and sometimes I hear, but it's their job. Like they should just do it. Like I shouldn't have to incentivize. I don't know. It's too important to not. And I just think you have to lighten up a little bit and figure out a way. If you're saying like you're going to go out of your budget for payroll or whatever, I think you need to just refigure out that budget, and you don't always have to like increase it, but there's ways to get creative so that there's money for this. But some of these ways to motivate your employees cost very, very little, and some of them to cost nothing. So always run a monthly contest. And what does that monthly contest look like? It could look like, and I'm going to add number 2 here, posted on the wall. You get a best thing I did when I owned my waterproofing company is I bought one of those huge, like 3.5, 4 foot, like paper rolls of like 300 yards. It was just super heavy and gigantic. And we always had, I had like 3 posters or white papers that we would make every single month. And they were always running a contest on something. But what could this look like? It could look like you have 140 reviews, and at the end of the month, you're looking to have 155. And if you do, you're going to buy lunch for everyone, or you're going to, I don't know, you're going to do something, go to an escape room, or take the leadership team to go to an escape room, or do something fun, have a cookout, but do something fun to motivate the group. But you're also making them aware of how important customer reviews are. Again, if you're not measuring it and inspecting it and celebrating it, it's going to be very difficult to improve it. So run company contests every single month and just make people aware how important it is. And if that's too much, another company I've worked with, if you get a customer to post a review, you get a ticket. And at the end of the month, they throw all the tickets in a hat and they pull it out, and they're giving out Amazon gift cards. So it's another way to just add some fun and then put that employee's name on the board. So and so won. So the more customer reviews get posted, the more tickets you get. Now, I love the third one. It's free. It won't cost anything. But if customer reviews are important to you, then you're going to talk about them. And there's a lot of science behind meetings. We all love meetings, right? But when you start a meeting out on a positive note, those meetings tend to be more effective. And reading at least one customer review is just a way to bring positive energy to say, hey, we're making customers happy. We're doing a great job. We're getting out there in the community. We're fixing problems, and we're making people happy. And then that transitions to the 4th item, and that is it's a way to acknowledge, because typically in one customer review, there's 3 or 4 people that have their hand in that. There's the person that answered the phone. There's the person that processed the order. There's the person that scheduled the job. There's the person that and the crew that did the work. And so it's an opportunity to acknowledge every single person that is involved with that review. And incentivize, I mentioned that before. Now you can figure out like a specific dollar amount per review. I know of a company on the East Coast that gives a dollar amount to every person on the crew when they get a review, or you could just do the foreman, or however you want to figure that out. But you can incentivize them with money. Then there's lots of other ways to incentivize people. All right, so those are some ways to motivate your employees. I would encourage you to get past it's their job thing. It's actually your job to motivate employees. So you got to get into their world and figure that out. So number 4 out of the 5. Here are the most popular tools, and there's a lot of them, and there's many more after this. But here are the more popular tools that could help you with customer reviews. I would say Birdeye and Nearby Now are the most popular ones. They can be a little bit pricey. If you're one of our clients, we have a system that I think works very well. It may not have all the horns and whistles that some of these have, but it's got quite a few. And actually, I think in the next 3 months, we will have a significant upgrade to our customer review platform, which I'm excited about. But these are the most well-known customer review tools. And some of these, well, I'll cover this in a second. Like, for example, some of them will allow you to send email and text and follow up and so on. And some of them have apps that you can get notified in when reviews come in and so on. Our system does the same. Now, big warning here. I know how we owners think. Okay, I'll invest into that and solve that problem. Then I can move on. The warning is great tools won't fix the problem. I've seen companies invest into these tools and nothing really happens. But creating a company culture of reviews takes leadership. And that's where you need to stand in front of everyone and cast this vision of what our company needs to be like and why, and then help motivate your employees to get there and then stay at it. Don't just start something and move on, but you've got to be consistent. And that's what good leadership is stay at it, encourage people, gather the sheep and keep casting the vision and motivate them and acknowledge them and have fun with it. And that's what good leadership does. So just buying a tool is not going to suddenly get you a bunch of reviews. So just keep that in mind. All right, fifth, acknowledge and respond to every review. Super important. Now, this motivates customers. Part of the reason why they are looking at reviews, yes, we all tend to see, we want to look at the bad ones, right? And it's not horrible to have a couple bad reviews. It all depends on how you respond to it. There's been companies out there that have had horrible reviews, but they're so taken back on how the owner responds to that negative review that they're actually motivated to go with that company because they know the owner takes it seriously. But respond to every single review. It also shows that you care about the review and that you're on top of it. And if there's ever a situation where a customer is not getting their needs met or something happened, they know based on your track record, man, these people respond to every review within 24 hours. They're going to care about if something happens. So respond to every single review, and a little more motivation to respond every single review is that for every 25% of reviews responded to, conversion of Google profile improves 4.1%. So again, it's another conversion factor similar to what I was saying. So strategy for driving consistent reviews, put in some kind of a system to ensure that every review gets tracked and measured. I'm going to add celebrate when you hit your goals. The second one, as I've worked with companies, like reminding them, dude, you have to improve this. And I know their life and they're dealing with 25 different things and they're trying to hire a sales rep or they're trying to run leads themselves or they're trying to improve, the whole production department has an issue. There's just so many fires going on that it's difficult to prioritize this. So this is where you just need to empower someone else on your team to take ownership of this and to task them with heading up the whole customer review thing and also to respond to every single review. So again, that's part of good leadership, and that is delegating and empowering someone else because you can't do it all. And then the last item I'm going to say here is formulate a strategy for professionally addressing and dealing with negative reviews. As I mentioned before, how you deal with a negative review is really important. Gone are the days for you to be ticked off and respond to some, customer that's a knucklehead that said something stupid or they lied. You really got to know that when the customer's reading the reviews, they're siding with the customer that posted it. So if two people are telling two different stories, they tend to side with the customer, not the corporate American business owner. So how you respond really matters, and you should have a documented way. And if you happen to be a hothead owner, someone's got to hold you accountable because you can't do that. It's going to cause more damage than good. So you have an opportunity to be that go-to basement waterproofing company in your area. It's going to improve your ranking and it's going to help maximize your conversions. So I hope you have a vision for that. I hope you had a couple strategies that are going to help you take action on these reviews. And again, no one is going to drop 10 grand and not look at a company's reviews. It's going to influence their decision. So I would encourage you to do everything you can to try to get the most reviews and the best quality you can. And if you need help, we are here to help people. Doesn't matter if you're a client of ours. If you want to talk about anything or just need to brainstorm or even bounce an idea off, please reach out on our website, rainmakerforcontractors.com. There's a place you can book an appointment with me. I'm happy to talk about that with you. And if you're interested in digital marketing, what I typically do is I start with just kind of a shorter discovery call to kind of see what you're looking for and so on. And then after that, I schedule with you, if it makes sense, to go over over Zoom, a 1 hour call. And there's a lot of tools that we subscribe to, and we can look at just about anything with your online presence and how to improve your leads, improve your reputation, improve your online presence, your ranking, and so on. And I'm happy to do that with you. Our phone number is here, our website, Rainmaker for Contractors. And again, you could schedule online. So I hope you got some good things out of this. Now, again, it's all about implementing and executing. Learning is cool, but applying this stuff is everything. All right. Much success to you.